team from China representing the LPL.
So many people! That's the Aatrox damage! Long may they reign! Royal never give up for your 2018 LPL champion!
Hello everyone and welcome to the first ever LPL First Blood Weekly, and that's a pun.
I don't think that's the name of the show.
I think it's LPL Weekly First Blood. I got the order wrong. I'm Leviathan, that's chhopsky, and later we'll be joined by the high score and never boring Esports Historian, Duncan Thorin Shields. Great guy, you know, great guy. Very active on Twitter. You should go check out his Twitter. You can find it, just Google it. This is what happens when Daddy Tencent opens their wallets and invests in a English-speaking LPL show. You get a stacked roster. Us two, we're okay, but we got Big Daddy Thorin on the show, and he's going to be joining us, giving us some information about the upcoming LPL season. We're going to talk about it. We're going to have a good time. Chris, are you excited for this LPL season?
I'm incredibly excited for this LPL season, Jordan. I mean, coming off the back of last year when they moved the entire broadcast to Shanghai, now they're hiring a whole bunch of new casters in there, with IG winning Worlds, RNG winning everything else. There's been this huge spread of interest coming in from those. All the teams are starting to invest in Western social media. So I think that we're actually going to see a whole heap more out of China, all the way through across the media spectrum. And you know who benefits from that? Is the fans. It's us.
Exactly. So we actually complement each other well on the desk here. For those of you that don't know, I've coached in the EULCS before. I have a title with Alliance as a head coach. I'm originally from North America, born in Vancouver, and I've coached in the challenger scene in North America as well as collegiate. I don't have much LPL information. Like, obviously, I've watched the important games, but I haven't followed the league religiously.
And that's where I come in.
But that's exactly where you come in, Christopher. As you can tell, you're wearing the WE jersey, and we got the RNG whatever these things are called above us. I think we'll be able to work together well, because some of the people who will be watching the show are going to be watching LPL for the first time, or, you know, haven't really invested into it the same way that they have their local regions. I think Thorin's going to touch on that later. But we're also going to have the diehard LPL fans who have already been watching LPL, and they're really going to relate to you. So if you're unfamiliar with LPL, you know, you're going to be more or less identifying with my experience. You know, I'm going to be trying to give the analogies between, you know, like the Western regions and what we see over in the LPL. But you know the LPL in and out, Chris.
I do. I've been working on the LPL for the last 2 years. We used to do all of the broadcast graphics for them. Part of my stats platform, we were actually the first team to get stats out of China. That actually had to teach Riot how to get those. Yeah.
That's good.
Thanks, glad you enjoyed those. So
yeah,
this is something I've been in for a while. And, you know, while the rest of the teams in the world were playing this slow controlled vision style, the LPL has never wanted to just sit back and wait for someone to make a mistake. They want to force you to make a mistake. And I think the reason that the LPL is coming to prominence now is that the game is in such a state where proactive action is rewarded. With the removal of Tracker's Knife, with decrease in vision wards, there's been such a greater emphasis on actually having to make risky plays. I mean, you can't just take your 100%, you can't just control the vision and slowly choke out the enemy team.
Right.
And that is just Chinese solo queue mentality, it's Chinese LPL mentality, and yeah, we're finally seeing it come to fruition.
So one of the first things we have to ask is, why should I care about LPL? Why do I want to watch LPL? I already got LCS. I already got my TSM. I already watch LEC, I believe it's what it's called now over in Europe. The EU LCS has been renamed. Like, I'm already a Fnatic fan. I got Reckless tattooed on my body the same way he did. No,
really?
not me actually, but I know there are super fans out there that go the extra mile and paint their face. And why should they be interested in LPL?
Well, I mean, if you want to be interested in the best region in the world, you've got to know who's going to beat you at Worlds, right?
Exactly. So I think that leads in well to our first Duncan Thorin Shields Esports Historian clip here. We have a couple clips from him. We're going to be running these clips. Chris, if you can give me a hand. We're going to be leading off the first Duncan clip, which is kind of about why we should care about the LPL. Yeah. So without further ado, Thorin.
The LPL is arguably the world's best League of Legends tournament league in terms of domestic play. In the past, the Chinese region where the LPL is played was typically considered by experts to be perhaps second in terms of region rankings behind the obviously incredibly dominant South Korea, who won all the world championships from Season 3 through to Season 7. Now, some may point to European success at the World Championship, reaching many semi-finals, and say maybe Europe should have been considered second or it was a closer race. But excluding 2018, there had been 6 tournaments labelled World Championships by Riot Games. So Season 2 Worlds to Season 7 Worlds. And over that time span, a Chinese team played in the final of the World Championship on 2 occasions. Over the same time span, Europe had 0 finalists. Expanding international competition beyond Worlds, the next most important and prestigious competition is, of course, the MSI, the Mid-Season Invitational, taking into account All-Stars 2014, which was the same premise as the Mid-Season Invitational, the best team from each of the major regions, but had yet to be labelled as the MSI. Chinese teams have appeared in 3 of the 5 tournament finals held in the MSI/All-Stars. Again, EU only 1 appearance. Now, what has elevated China, perhaps now, as I alluded to at the beginning, to the status of possibly overtaking South Korea in the lead for most dominant, most important, best region in League of Legends is 2018. Because in 2018, last year, every single notable international tournament in League of Legends was won by a Chinese team representing the LPL and beating Korea's best team on all occasions. So, starting with the biggest, Invictus Gaming won the World Championship and along the way defeated the #1 Korean seed KT Rolster in the quarterfinals. Then you had RNG won the second most important tournament, Royal Never Give Up. They won the Mid-Season Invitational in the final, defeating Korea's best at the time, King's Own Dragon X. The LPL as a region won the Rift Rivals, which also featured South Korea. China won the Asian Games, which also featured the Korean team, including many of the best players. Now, it's understandable in the past as to why people didn't pay much attention to the LPL. People didn't watch it as much as some of the other leagues if they were from the West, if they were speaking English primarily. Because most people stuck to their home regions, either NA or EU, or if they were hardcore fans of the game and they wanted to watch the best League of Legends, they thought, right, well, the reputation is that's what the LCK represents. So they'd go and they'd watch the LCK as well. And as a result, the LPL, the Chinese region, was kind of stuck in a no man's land of not being able to properly cultivate its demographic, its audience in the West, at least relative to those other regions. Despite this, it is a fantastic region, is the Chinese region, and the LPL is a fantastic competition. It is very competitive outside of its elite teams. It's not like it's just a couple of top-heavy teams beating everyone. The battle for third place, which comes through winning that gauntlet spot, is always incredibly vicious and typically quite unpredictable, actually. Oftentimes, the team that's been ranked as third or placed third in the LPL playoffs doesn't make it through the gauntlet and get that third spot because the competition is so tough and people adapt. There's a massive amount of player talent in the LPL with star-level talents who could be among the best in the world at their role, playing for even some of the lesser teams who are near the bottom of the table due to how much overall talent and money there is in the league. There are lots of Korean imports still. Names like, for example, if you're currently lining up to watch the LCK this season, SK Telecom's super team features the talents of jungle star Klid, who is a Korean player. He made his name playing in the LPL last year.
A bit of a abrupt cutoff, but thank you, Thorin. Thanks for that assist. Really appreciate it. We got a soundboard here, by the way.
That's true.
A little sample. But again, thank you, Thorin, so much for the help there. A lot of good information for us, and we couldn't do it without you. So, just to recap, I'm going to shoot it over to you, Chris. Last year, 2018, Thorin was saying IG over KT.
Yep.
RNG over Kingzone. LPL wins Rift Rivals. And China wins Asian Games. Can they keep the success up? Are we gonna see the international success carry over into 2019? Is this like the beginning of the Chinese overlords, if you will, or are we going to see Korea, compete, take a couple tournaments? How do you think this is going to play out this year?
I actually think that this continues to run in China's favor. Because if you look at the investment that's been going into this whole region, none of the teams are really kind of resting on their laurels. The teams that are winning are really sticking with what they're doing. The ones that weren't winning have really doubled down into like, well, how can we prepare this? Not to just try and win some games like now. How are we going to build an organization and a team that is going to go on to be competitive? And over the last 12 months, even like at the start of 2018, you basically saw like 2 or 3 top teams, and then way down below them, there was this middle of the pack that was fighting, and then down below that, there's OMG and Vici that just, like, honestly... Yep. Big old danger pings just... it was... Those games actually hurt me to cast. So,
right, exactly.
But they're all investing into their futures now, and we're seeing so much result from it. The whole middle of the pack has totally stood up. Like, no one cared about Top Sports 6 months ago, but then they come out and very nearly win the Demacia Championship.
Right.
Like, nearly taking out Invictus Gaming, who won the World Championship. Like, the way that the middle tiers have grown is actually outstanding.
Okay. And so we're going to get a lot of fans coming over from the LCS and the LEC, the Western regions. And it's very popular for people to cheer for teams like TSM, Cloud9, Fnatic, Gamers 2. And we're going to see fans also cheering for IG and RNG in the same way as that 1-2 punch powerhouse. That leaves us with the other point that Thorin was talking about, the battle for third place. Can you expand on this idea of the third place team doesn't always get in? What do the gauntlets look like? Because as an LCK fan, I love watching the gauntlet. I'll rewatch gauntlets if I have to. It's just the most exciting thing to see a team travel through the gauntlet. Is there any predictions for who's going to take that third place spot for you this year?
Well, that's what's so crazy about this, because up until now, everyone would have said that EDG and RNG were the 2 big names of China.
Okay.
But now Invictus, after absolutely dominating through 2018 and then doing their classic move of completely just not knowing how to play out a best of 5 and just crashing out through the playoffs, just like... they usually fumble it, but then all of a sudden, bam, they made it through the gauntlet, and bam, they made it through the entire World Championships.
Right.
So, like, what happened to EDG through all of this? Like, they've got Raid sitting in the top lane, Clearlove and Haro now in the jungle. Okay. Important to note that iBoy and Mako, their big bot lane, this is a team that's always played around bot lane. They've still got that really strong lower half of the map. I think they're going to have to start showing us something new, because it's getting predictable. You know exactly how they're going to play out each game, and they don't just have the straight-up laning power to just crush those lanes anymore.
Right. And they also don't have an owner that can sub in for them at the 80 carry
You
position.
also don't have an owner who can sub in.
That's the thing. If you guys don't know, I didn't know about this. Well, I did, but I should have known about this with the amount I followed LPL. Well, maybe you did. I don't know. I think a lot of people heard about this. Who was it? What team was it?
That was Invictus' owner.
IG. What team brought the owner in?
I thought that was IG.
It was IG. Yeah. A team brought their owner in and played, and he won, and he's 1-0 in competitive play. He's literally the owner of the team. You guys got to look this up. We don't have a clip ready.
He's literally the son of a billionaire who's running.
Yes, and he played a competitive
team.
game, and his team carried him.
Oh, he basically hard entered.
Yeah.
But he didn't lose, and honestly, he came good in the end. So more power to him. I think he's hovering around D2, D3 in Chinese solo queue at the moment.
Sure. Well, yeah. Okay, buddy.
But this is the kind of
no, get out of there, man.
This is the kind of thing that happens
You're
in
outclassed.
LPL. It's always entertaining to watch, because this kind of thing can just show up.
Oh, it's crazy. It's crazy.
But yeah, so when you are actually playing against people like iBoy and Mako, who are just going to absolutely crush your soul, if they're playing to their full potential, you actually need to do that. So EDG is going to be close on the heels of anything. Meanwhile, Top Sports, out of nowhere, turns out to be an amazing team. I think that the only reason that they didn't win Demacia Championship was basically just a lack of familiarity with each other. They played well, everyone was really strong, and as long as they were making proactive moves, they were able to take it to IG pound for pound, no question.
Yeah.
IG has kept this roster intact for a really long time now. They've been through the whole works with it. Yeah. So they were able to adapt better when the situation threw them in a direction that they weren't expecting. And I think that's the only reason that IG did actually come out on top there. So I think EDG and Top Sports are going to be the two to watch that are really going to be clamoring for that third place spot.
You're giving me a Boston Celtics vibe with your answer, because a lot of the big analysts in the basketball world have been saying recently that the Celtics are one season away from achieving success. They have the pieces of a good roster, and they have the players and the coaching staff that would facilitate success, but they don't feel like they're quite ready yet. One more year has been a frequent piece. So
technology is just not there yet.
The technology is just not there yet. So yeah, that is that. I believe we have a second Thorin clip ready to go, which is going to kind of cover that third place discussion we had just started. It's the middle of the pack teams. So yeah, let's throw it over to Thorin one more time to educate us so generously. And yeah, let's run it.
Yeah, you probably just want to start out by watching the best teams and the marquee matchups. Skip the filler for now until you get to know some of those teams better. Watch the teams that have a chance of playing at MSI, playing at Worlds later this year. So let's start with the most obvious team to initially profile, which is the world champions, Invictus Gaming, IG. Not only did they win Worlds, something no Chinese team had ever done in League of Legends history, but they have arguably the best player in the world at this point in time, which is their star mid laner, Rookie. Interestingly enough, Invictus Gaming as a team, as is the case with a number of other Chinese League of Legends organizations, has typically had a formula to its success, to how it has played League of Legends, revolving around certain roles within the game. So in IG, historically, they have always been famous for having strong solo laners. So we're talking about the top laner and the mid laner. Now is no different. They have Rookie, arguably the best player in the world, and so as a result, by default, the best mid laner in the world. But at the top lane, they have the Shy, who was one of the stars of the World Championship. Many would hail him after that performance as the best top laner in the world. These are all Korean players, by the way. But actually, some people who haven't watched IG enough might not be aware that the backup player, Duke, is also a very good top laner, arguably bordering on elite level himself, despite having a different playing style, and hence why they use a rotation in the top lane. The style of IG is essentially to be incredibly strong in the early game, smash lanes, snowball the game, and then don't even have to necessarily play a late game, don't have to use a lot of macro later on. That worked quite often in the LPL, but one team could always stop them. They were previously stylistically countered by Royal Never Give Up, a team with incredible strength in the bot lane, and a team that was able to play at all points in the game, but particularly strong in the mid game. They didn't face this team at Worlds, though, where they obviously had a championship-winning campaign. That's because even though they were on the same side of the bracket in the playoffs, Royal Never Give Up was beaten in that infamous fifth game in the quarterfinal against Europe's G2 Esports, who IG then easily swept 3-0 in the resulting semi-final. Interestingly for IG, despite having won Worlds, the highest accolade you can accomplish in your League of Legends career, this organisation and this lineup has never won the LPL, and therefore that must be the goal for this split. And there is still, as a result, scrutiny and pressure upon this IG lineup to deliver that domestic championship. Next up, I would obviously highlight the team that was the #1 team for all of 2018 until the quarterfinals of Worlds, and quite frankly, should still be considered the team of the year in 2018, which is obviously China's powerhouse, RNG, Royal Never Give Up. As I alluded to, they were dominant in 2018. They won both of the LPL splits. They won MSI. Most of the roster that won the Asian Games was made up of RNG players, but they failed to make top 4 at Worlds, mainly due to a stylistic issue. They were playing through the bot lane and their star player Uzi quite stubbornly, whereas by the time the playoffs arrived for that tournament, many people point to the strength of solo laners from teams like, obviously, IG, G2, you can even go and look Cloud9, Fnatic. All the semi-final teams had notably strong solo laners, whereas RNG played through that bot lane. Understandably though, the reason they played through that bot lane is, first of all, in an interview, it was revealed they had won something ridiculous. like 20 or more scrims without being defeated, so they thought their style worked. And the star player they were playing to, Uzi, was hailed at the time as the best player in the world. I would consider him the best player of 2018. He is an all-time great player. Regardless of his position, he would be a top 5 player in the history of League of Legends. Accomplishments, eye test, stats-wise. He also is certainly a candidate for best AD carry of all time, and this is all despite only being 21 years old. This is someone who has competed internationally since 2013, but still potentially has many years of greatness ahead of him. Notably though, he had never won the LPL until 2018, when he won it twice with RNG. So interestingly for Uzi, in line with what I said about IG, Uzi is still seeking more championships domestically. And more importantly, he has never won the World Championship despite playing in Worlds Finals twice. So he also is heavily seeking Worlds qualification and then expecting at some point in his career to win that championship. Elsewhere within RNG, a very strong team man for man in terms of overall level of their players. A notable player would be the mid laner Xiaohu, who this year was a little bit more of a passenger in the Uzi train. By the time Worlds came, wasn't really played around, despite the fact they could have if they'd have actually been able to read the meta of how strong solo laners could be. But if you go back to past years, particularly 2017, fabulously strong player, considered one of the very best in the LPL and one of the best players that they had in their Worlds 2017 campaign in Season 7, where they made the semi-finals and lost in a 5th game there and failed to make the final. The organisation has, over its time, won 3 LPL titles. They won the 2 last year with Uzi Xiaohu lineup. And back in 2016, in spring, when they had Mata, the Korean legendary support player who now plays for SK Telecom, as their shot caller, they won LPL Spring then.
They sure did win LPL Spring there.
Did.
And honestly, like, I really like this RNG lineup, especially the one notable change that they've done is they've brought over Amazing J from BLG, who you might remember from 2016, back when they were called IMA. He made an amazing teleport flank that took them from something like a 12k gold deficit to come back, win the game, qualify, and take them to Worlds. That clip got played all around the world. You actually already saw it today because it was in the intro.
Amazing J, one of the names I do know as a non-LPL, previous non-LPL viewer, now involved, obviously. Amazing J, that's one of the names when I saw it, I said, yeah, I know that guy. I know that guy. I've heard of him. He's a good player. And that's a big pickup for RNG this year. You think that's going to make them better and help them deliver the three-peat that they're looking for, the back-to-back-to-back titles? You think they're going to take it this year?
Yeah, I think that is going to do a lot more for their power to play through the top lane, just give them a little bit more flexibility. I think as well, with having MLXG and Kasa in the jungle, the longer that they stick with this, the better that they're going to the better results that they're going to have from it. And we're seeing more and more LMS players start to have a great exodus over to the LPL. Turns out people like making a lot of money. They like playing in the best league in the world. So everyone's moving to China. The rest of the team looks exactly like you think it does. I think it's important to note that Uzi is the only player that didn't actually abandon the marksman meta when marksman really kind of tanked off. Yeah, you're right. And there's actually a bunch of interesting stats. If Uzi died less than 4 times in the game, there was something like an 80% chance that RNG would win the game over all of 2018 split. So, that actually worked for them at a time when when the bot lane was really not strong. And also important to note that Thorin's pronunciation of Uzi is actually correct, and we, the rest of the world, are the ones that are wrong. That's the reason that it was all capitalized in-game. It is supposed to be Uzi, but someone decided Uzi's what we got, so Uzi's what we get.
I like Uzi. Yeah. I like Uzi.
Uzi and a shotgun. Bang.
Uzi, however you want to say it. That leads me perfect. I have an Uzi note here. Is he gonna ever fall off? Because we've seen a lot of these legendary players, like, I don't know, Froggen looks so good for so long, right? He just looked untouchable. Goes to Korea, gets second, right? And it's just mind-blowing. But it's been a while since, these players come in and out. But Uzi has just been always good. He's 21, like I believe Thorin said. Is this going to be another big year for Uzi?
I think it can be. But I think that we're actually going to see more of the year of Jackie Love instead.
Okay.
To put this in perspective, when Uzi was scrimming for Worlds and he was practicing up because he's like, I'm going to be the best AD carry in the world. I've got to smash it. He was training with Jackie Love from Invictus Gaming daily, and he ended up having to stop because Jackie Love kept beating him too much and it was demoralizing him. So this is like, Jackie Love is actually a powerhouse, but the problem is he's a little bit thirsty. He is a bit more like your solo queue AD carries. He will go too aggressive. He will go too ham. He will not show enough respect to the enemy, and he will die for it. So while he may have almost the most kills in the league, he also has some of the highest deaths for an AD carry. And it's very much like... It pretty much is that Jackie Love, Jackie hate scenario. It's like, which one do you get? If he decides to play safe, you get Jackie Love, you get wins. If you try to get Jackie hate, then, I don't know, just FF at 20.
So we all love a good, story. One of my favorites is David versus Goliath. If you haven't heard about it, it's in the Bible. Look it up.
What's a Bible?
It's a book that people read. Chris, but that's not what's important. What's important is I have IG versus RNG written down as a Goliath versus Goliath matchup. Two powerhouses that whenever they go head-to-head should just be absolutely outstanding. Do you think that IG is going to be able to get at least one title here in the upcoming split? Because they haven't achieved one yet, as Thorin so helpfully pointed out to us. But with them winning Worlds, I mean, do you care about winning LPL if you've already won Worlds?
I think you've got to, if you like speed run your way through the achievements, you've got to go back and, get all of the quests, all the side quests on the way through.
This isn't any percent. This is now 100%.
This is now 100% run.
100% category.
But in all seriousness, the Shy has struggled with wrist injuries through the last year or so, and the reason that Duke has been sitting here as a sub is that he has had to play quite a lot, because the Shy will take literally months off at a time to recover from his injuries, and we don't get a lot of visibility into how that recovery is going. Duke... Thorin's right. Duke is actually a really solid top laner. He's not the kind of flashy... he's not the kind of flashy player that really kind of takes over a game the way the Shy did, but he can hold down really well, and we have seen him carry quite a lot of games through champions like Gangplank. Like, he can actually play in that style. But, with Amazing J sitting in the top lane across him, it's really possibly not... it depends which sides of the map get ahead. Depends how strong Invictus can be in the jungle, because a lot of Invictus's victories, basically all of them,
jungle,
start with Ning.
Yep.
Ning is the powerhouse who then, with their 3 strong lanes, he gets to choose where to allocate his power.
Okay.
And when any of those lanes are not as strong, that's where it starts to fall over, because all of a sudden he's not free to go into it. He might have to prop up lanes rather than choose where he wants to allocate it.
Right.
So this is where the power of Casa and MLXG comes in. But between the two of them, can they keep down Ning? And the answer is maybe.
Okay. Yeah, so that's our 2 premier teams. These are going to be the guys to beat when they go head-to-head. I think we're all going to be watching. I let in incorrectly. I don't know if we're going to fix it in post, but I incorrectly introduced Thorin's last segment as the middle matchup segment.
No. So I'm going to talk about middle matchup segment because there are a bunch of good Tier 2 teams that are really going to be fighting for that top spot. Rogue Warriors that replaced nearly their entire lineup.
Rogue Warriors.
Actually, really good team now. Everyone thought they were going to be garbage at Demacia Championship. They actually did really well.
Yep.
They are definitely to look out for them. JDG, Jingdong Gaming, Suning Gaming, BLG.
Whoa, slow down.
All of the Gs. All the G teams. Any team that ends in G is either Tier 1 or Tier 2. So that's the matches you want to watch. Below that, there's a couple of interesting ones. There's Team WE that I like, because I like teams that are bad and coin flippy.
He's got a tier list on his sheet, by the way.
Snake Esports, through 2018, start of 2018, we were thinking like, oh, wow, maybe Snake's going to Worlds.
Yeah.
Did not. They pulled the IGN playoffs trick. Yep. Just, where is Flandre? Where is he gone? He's dead again. And it turns out if you only carry through your top lane, and your top lane falls over, there's not much that you can do. And we've got a couple of new teams now that the roster has expanded from 14 to 16 teams. There's Sino Dragon Gaming and Victory 5. We saw a bit of Sino in the Demacia Championship. They're looking all right. Not looking great, but they've come up. They're promoted. They're promoted from the LDL, so
everything's good.
They're... not exactly Griffin, but let's see what they can do. And we know literally nothing about Victory 5. So let's just tune out and see what happens. But, if you're starting to just become an LPL fan for the first time, you are going to be looking at the marquee matchups, like Duncan said. Right. So let's throw it back over to him and see what he's got to say about the matchups that you should tune in for.
Sure, let's go.
After the 2 big dogs, we have a few teams who bear mentioning who probably aren't at the moment favourites to win the LPL, but they're relevant and some of them have the potential to be a favourite to win the LPL. So let's start with the other team that made it to Worlds, the third team, the team that won the gauntlet, and that was Edward Gaming EDG. Now, they made Worlds, surprisingly, at the end of the year. They had been irrelevant in terms of the championship throughout 2018, Season 8, but they made it to Worlds, they got out of their group, made it to top 8, made it to the playoffs, coming out of a group featuring the number 1 seed from NA, Team Liquid. In the round of 8, they played against Fnatic, the number 1 seed from Europe, and an eventual finalist of the tournament, and actually gave them a pretty decent challenge. They played them fairly competitively at times in the game. Stars of this team are, of course, Korean mid laner Scout, who was formerly of SK Telecom, where he was a backup player for Faker, and has actually shown himself also to be one of the better players in the LPL, and particularly in this team. Domestically being very good and had a pretty good Worlds. Otherwise, it's AD carry iBoy, who is a young, inconsistent, but very flashy and mechanically strong AD carry. And AD carry is, of course, not only a famous role in China, but for EDG. They have typically built many of their championship-winning teams around AD carry players. The Chinese player Name in 2014, Deft in 2016 and 2015. Other than that, in the team, they still have some names that bear mentioning, like the legendary jungler Claylove, one of the greatest junglers of all time, a veteran of the LPL, playing in championship teams in the past, and of course, Mako, the support player who was playing with Deft in his time in EDG, and who has at times been hailed as the best Chinese support player, and obviously he is there trying to rein in, trying to work with iBoy to emphasize the strengths of EDG. This is a team, though, due to their inconsistent performance, having a good Worlds but not that great in the LPL, having a good gauntlet but never making a real deep playoff finish. They're a team with lots to prove this split, especially because the names I am about to mention in terms of teams, many would expect to supersede and leapfrog ahead of EDG and potentially challenge IG and RNG for the LPL title. EDG are also battling against the historical context of their organization's accolades and greatness. This is an organization that has won 4 LPL splits, but notably, only one of those splits was with the core currently making up this particular lineup with iBoy, coupled with Mako and Claylove. So the 2 other teams I want to highlight would be Top Sport Gaming. Now, this is a team that has yet to make any meaningful impact on the LPL playoffs, but they changed their lineup in the off-season, and an off-season competition in the Chinese region was the Demacia Cup, which featured the best teams in China, and in that competition, they beat Invictus Gaming, the reigning world champions, to go through to the final and finish in 2nd place. Among their signings, the key addition is mid laner Knight, formerly of Sunning. He is only 18 years old, but he has proven himself to be a player with a high amount of potential and already a strong individual performance, and therefore has people quite excited for what this team is capable. Elsewhere, they also added Korean AD carry Lorcan. You may remember him in the past from the ESC Ever team that beat out SK Telecom years and years ago in one of the Kesper Cups. He was previously playing in Jingdong Gaming, who were one of the better teams, actually a better team than the likes of EDG previously. And so an interesting roster going forwards. After that, I would mention the aforementioned Jingdong Gaming. This is a team that came out of nowhere in the summer split of Season 8 to finish 3rd in the playoffs. Since then, they changed their lineup. They have signed Korean jungle star Flawless, who was formerly part of the strong Rogue Warriors team, who sadly missed out on Worlds. Very strong carry jungler. They also, elsewhere in the jungle position, have Levi, the Vietnamese jungler, who people might remember from the Gigabyte Marines from Season 7, and in Season 8 was signed to 100 Thieves, but wasn't used in the main team. He was mainly used as an academy player. Elsewhere, they have also signed Korean AD carries Imp, who is a world champion and an LCK champion when it was called OGN, with Samsung Ozone / Samsung White, and Bavoy, who is less well known, but also is someone people are looking at as a player with potential. The star player of this team is mid laner Yagao. The LPL in the past was known as a league for AD carries, and mid lane at one point in time was considered a position devoid of many names who were true superstars on the global level. Europe was thought to have better mids. Korea, obviously better mids. But actually, mid lane are very strong right now in the LPL. And Yagao, one of the main reasons why. Because this is a guy who has already shown some superstar ability and performance level. And people are incredibly excited to see what he can do and how he can carry this Jingdong gaming team forwards. He is someone, to give you a flavour of him, his most played champions last split, Zoe, Yasuo, LeBlanc. But he can also play many of the control mages, the utility mids. Then I would mention finally a team, Sonning Gaming. Now this was a team who, much like Jingdong, at one point in time were irrelevant. The difference is this team has yet to show any big time performance to suggest they can be a challenger, except making big moves in the off-season. This is one of the teams that really wholesale moved out and brought in big parts, and seemingly every single addition is an upgrade. Because first of all, they brought in the Flash Wolves stars of the LMS, many-time champions and worlds appearances for Maple and Sword Art, the mid lane and support players. This means that they are now pairing Sword Art, one of the greatest support players in League of Legends history, with a new AD carry partner, as he is playing with another new addition, Chinese AD carry star SMLZ. Many people actually hailed him domestically as perhaps the second or third best AD carry in China, going back to last year. That makes for a very exciting prospect, because not only is SMLZ an amazing AD carry, but Sword Art is someone who traditionally is known for being paired with average to below average international level AD carries, and therefore has never had a very strong bot lane, and was typically known more in the vein of a roaming support and not someone who was going to be part of an incredible bot lane. Also, elsewhere in the team, you have players remaining who are particularly strong. Also, Zhao, the top laner, is known to be one of the better top laners in the league, and Haka, the jungler, is a pretty good jungler as well. It's a strong lineup. They have a chance to challenge for the title. Many people have already made comments that this is a super team because they kept their very best parts. They added one of the best AD carries, and they added a strong mid lane and support players, arguably the best from the LMS. And so, even though this is a team that wasn't that relevant in the past, potentially very relevant going forwards.
Not relevant in the past, but potentially relevant going forward. Sounds like our entertainment careers, Christopher. No, again, thank you, Thorin. Of course.
It's fine.
One of the best
Everything is fine. I am still Chris Chopsky Pollock. This is still Jordan Leviathan Thwaites, and we are still talking for some reason.
I don't know, man.
So,
it's a podcast.
It is definitely a podcast. Podcast is what this is. So I want to talk about Sonning Gaming and Sword Art, because Sword Art absolutely went off in the Demacia Championship. If only the team comps and the role was strong enough to like solo carry, he was just legit 1v9ing.
Right. Well, tell me about it. I mean, I got notes, but if you want to just go ahead and tell me. I don't need.
I think that he hit something like 80% of his bindings when he was playing Morgana. It was disgusting.
Do you have notes about how many he hit?
I don't.
Oh,
Maybe.
Okay.
No, that just says EDG. This just
Cannot
says
find notes.
This just says broadcast PC, and then it's just missing pings around 5.
Well, I have no more book to fiddle with. That was a mistake, but that's all right. We're professionals here. We're gonna just keep on rolling with it. So Thorin was saying we had a Korean import. I kind of want to talk about Top Sports Gaming. That was Loken. Are you familiar with Loken at all? Do you think Top Sports can be able to make a push with that new AD carry there down the bot line?
I think that in comparison to Knight, Loken is a very strong addition, but not really going to be as relevant. It's good to have the strength there, but Knight is an absolute monster. If you want to learn to play any of those champions that he played just honestly, go back and watch the VODs. Go back and watch the VODs on, Opalcast. Twitch.tv/Opalcast has the VODs of that with English cast done by a bunch of very attractive casters that I was definitely a part of that crew. And they're just absolute highlight reels all the way through. He won both sides of winning and losing matchups. Just absolute monster. Okay. So I still think that Knight is the most power there. Good to have more than one place that they can carry that from. I think Chocho underperformed this year. I think there's potential for him to improve, but with Loken on the roster, he's basically going to be relegated to a sub.
All right. Steak is on Rogue Warriors, but it looks like as a sub of some sort.
Rogue Warriors has too many players.
I'm
just going to say that now. They have what are they? They've got subs for multiple roles. I
met Steak actually.
Yeah.
It was at IEM I am whatever one I went to because I'm not even gonna.
You were coaching at 2015 in San Jose.
So that's like 9. No, that was in Katowice. It was like the finals. Right?
Oh, right, yeah.
And Steak had just finished beating N-Rated, and N-Rated and I were pretty good buddies. N-Rated was the support for SK, and he comes over to the my computer in the warm-up area, and he's like, "Oh man, we fucking lost." Them, dude. Pardon my language. You're gonna have to bleep that out. Bleep that out. But
fine.
Those are his words, not mine. Those are his words, not mine. But anyways, my manager comes over and tells me to take a picture with Steak, and I'm like, of course I'm gonna take a picture with Steak. You know, it's Steak. His name is like food, right? Of course, he's a very friendly guy. Smiles, shakes my hand, says he's a fan. I'm a fan, right? And then N-Rated sees this. And N-Rated and I are buddies, and he sees me taking the photo with Steak. Wasn't my choice. It was my manager's choice. And then I was in a solo queue game. I told N-Rated to cover for me while I was taking the photo, and he ended up doing a full mana build for Vladimir for me to get back at me for taking the photo. I told him my manager made me take it. He's like, well, I didn't know that. I thought you were just going over to take a photo with the guy that beat your friend just to mess with me. And so I got to play some of my heart for Steak, And then I had to play a full game of AP of Mana Vlad to deal with that. But yeah, I figured I'd share that.
Well, I guess you were the bigger mana in the end.
Oh, no, not doing that. So
sorry.
yeah, what are your predictions this year, man, coming into this?
All right.
Who's your 1 and 2? Who's your 1-2?
I think that everyone is right. IG and RNG are going to be battling it out for 1 and 2. It's the third place spot that's really interesting. I'm
going with Snake. I'm putting my money down right now. I'm putting. I don't have any money.
Do you want to borrow some money?
No. Well, see, we work for Tencent now, so the money's coming. The money is coming. I tell you. Next time you see us, we're gonna be wearing diamonds. That dirty Tencent money. Well, no. But seriously though, 1-2 is obviously going to be either IG, RNG in some combination. Yep. Given that nothing crazy happens, I'm gonna go with Snake off of a hunch. But I have nothing to base it off of. But who's your number 3?
That is a terrible thing to say, and you're going to be disappointed, as I have every time, and it's 3 now. That every time that I have been convinced that it is safe to become a Snake Esports fan again.
Yeah.
So no, I'm going top number 3, EDG 4th, and then Rogue Warriors, JDG, SNG, and BLG. Kind of finding down below that, and that's when you really sort of head down into the lower to middle teams.
Okay.
But overall, I think it's going to be really exciting. So we actually start again on the 14th of January.
We do.
So that is Monday/Tuesday, depending on what time zone that you're in.
Right.
And it's going to be great. So we actually have IG versus top.
IG versus top. Yeah, we have a clip actually from Thorin previewing the first match of the day, and then the last match of the week. First match of the week, last match of the week. So if we can throw to that.
In light of those teams I've highlighted, the 2 marquee matchups I'm going to give you for week 1 of the LPL Spring 2019 is going to be on Monday, the first day. We have Top versus Invictus Gaming, so we will already be able to see how the world champions match up against the team that took them down in the semi-finals of the Demacia Cup, and a team that has made improvements in terms of their roster to potentially be a team now that might be going to Worlds this year. Elsewhere, on the last day of the week, Sunday, we have Sonning Gaming against RNG. So we have the Sonning super team, we have the LMS players, we have potentially a very strong bot lane going up against the best bot lane in the world of RNG, which is obviously going to be Ming and Uzi, and the strongest team of 2018, and the team that feel like they should have won Worlds and are currently 2-time reigning LPL champions with this lineup. So Sonning, big test for them right out of the gate in week 1.
All right. So
we're not back yet.
All right.
And we're back.
All right.
Wow.
So we are actually back.
Great clip, Thorin.
So
I've
got my predictions. We know that the LPL is going to be starting pretty damn soon. You can head over to that at twitch.tv/LPL1.
LPL1, not LPL.
LPL1.
LPL1.
You can also follow on Twitter LPL English.
Is it LPL English?
It is LPL English.
Is there an underscore in there?
Maybe.
Does it have to be capitalized?
That doesn't matter either way.
Are you sure?
I'm 100% sure.
Well, you heard it here first, boys and girls. Well,
and non-binary
All
individuals.
non-binary, all the genders. We welcome it all here. Just, it doesn't matter if you're a man, woman, kangaroo that somehow can watch TV. We appreciate that.
Are you saying that kangaroos can't watch TV?
I don't know if they're colorblind. I don't know if they're visually stimulated.
It's racist.
That's not racist. It's the kangaroos. Kangaroos on a race.
Not with that attitude.
All right, so I am supposed to change the topic when,
Is the topic
when you get on. You're a loose cannon, Chris. I don't know how long you're going to last on this show.
I think the topic should
We're
be
gonna get
that
a new
we
guest.
need to wrap up.
We need another host. Hey, we'll get the
You
producer.
can't fire me. I don't work for
I
you.
need another host. Get me. No, he's not good. All right.
All right, that's it. I'm out of here.
They said we. You're gonna recall.
I am recalling.
You're gonna recall.
I'm going back to base. This is
back to
over.
base. All right.
I have been Chris Chopsky Pollock. This is Jordan Leviathan Thwaites. This has been the first episode of LPL Weekly First Blood. It's been a bunch of fun having you, and we will see you all.
Having you.
It's thanks.
Oh, you cutie.
Big thanks to RNG for sending us all this stuff that you've seen around there. Really love your work, everyone. And we will catch you next week when we have some actual games to discuss, rather than just hypothesizing about what might happen.
Right.
So, we will see you all then. Talk to you later.
Care.